On your spiritual journey, you may be noticing that there's this shift from doing to being. Now, typically, we are caught up in the doing. We're lost in the doing. The doing is all we know. Take a look around at our society. Everyone's talking about how busy they are, how much they've got to do, all of their goals that they are achieving, their to-do list. Do more. People are identifying as a doer. Take massive action. 10x. This is our society. This is our culture, a culture of doing. So we start this awakening journey, this spiritual journey. And it's really this journey from doing to being. And for the most part, it's very gradual. That there's just this very subtle shift from doing to being. And what it looks like at the start is actually less doing. It's this less doing, or you can say it's an undoing. It looks a lot like self-care at the start, a little bit more me time. But you notice that you start becoming a little bit more relaxed. It has this feeling that you're maturing, that you're simplifying. Your life is becoming a little bit more simpler. You're letting go of things. When you're caught up in the doing, you're juggling so much. You're holding on to so many things. And when this awakening starts happening, you actually just start dropping those things. You start dropping those things. Sometimes maybe you don't want to drop them. So it feels like things are falling away from you. They're falling out of your hands. There's too much on your plate. So things are naturally falling away. There's too much to handle. Typically at this stage, it feels like you're very busy. And a lot of times it comes in the form of being surprised where there's like a crisis or like you are burnt out from your career or your job or something, a health issue comes up because you were just doing so much. And now it's kind of like life takes over and says, just chill, just relax. And sometimes you chill for a little bit and then you get back up because it's habitual and then want to go. And then again, something happens and then it says, just take a little time out, take a little vacation, relax a little bit. And sometimes this happens where it's like, don't get the message the first time, want to go out there, do, and then it sits you down a little bit. And it's not a complete inactivity. It's not like you're sitting on the sidelines or you can't do anything. Like I said, it's this natural progression. It's this gradual shift where you just start feeling like you're becoming a little bit more and more relaxed as this journey continues, that your stress level is decreasing. You just start noticing that your stress is decreasing. You're a little bit more relaxed. Life is becoming a little bit more simpler. You might also have this feeling like you're maturing or refining, that things are being more refined. It may look like focusing on the important things in your life, where you're letting go of things that were superficial. They start feeling very meaningless. And there might be more of this like core to your life of what is it that you're actually focusing on, instead of having your attention pulled in every direction. Beers with the boys, shopping all the time with the girls, trying to please everyone, help this person out there. You want to be over there. You're double booking yourself in so many different places, stretching yourself out thin, burning the candle at both ends. that's the life of overdoing. Then, like I said, we start doing less and less and less. And there's this feeling like where you're doing less, but actually there's more quality that is experienced in the things that you are actually doing. So it's a little bit more of the decreasing the quantity, and you're increasing the quality. As you decrease the quantity of doing, the things that you're actually doing is of higher quality. You start noticing that there's more and more of this alone time. You could also look at it as this energy output into the work, into the relationship, into the gym and the body and the home and everything like that. It's this outward energy. You're working out. You go to the gym, you're working out. There's this other thing of working in. It's more of this restorative effect, this recharging, rejuvenation, revitalizing, where it's like you didn't even know of this. You didn't know. You start seeing that you have some activities where you're putting out a lot of energies. And then you have these other activities that are where you're cultivating the energy, where you're restoring the energy. You're depleting the energies get low, but then now you're knowing this other dimension where you're actually being more nourished. And you're noticing that these activities are activities where you're not around a lot of people. There's more alone time. So there's this greater connection with yourself. You're plugging yourself in to the source. You're recharging your batteries. Right? So now you're starting to experience a little bit more of this deeper dimension, the dimension of being. And now you're seeing how good you feel that when you're connecting with yourself, that this alone time is actually starting to be like the highlight of your day. You never used to be alone. But now you're noticing that it's that little like slow walk around the block, or sitting down at the park, just watching whatever's happening at the park happen, sitting down at the stream, walking the dog, some kind of relaxed, restorative yin yoga, or some tai chi, or reading a book, things like that. You start noticing that that seems to be outweighing the rest of the day. It's like that 15-minute walk seems to be the highlight. There's so much content in the rest of the day. And it's like that 15 minutes felt like you're like detoxing from all the experiences. Like you weren't actually experiencing a lot of content. It feels like you unplugged from everything else, but you're feeling the greatest connection when it was just you. So then you start prioritizing this alone time. You start prioritizing these very gentle activities that feel very restorative. Might just be a bath, might be a walk, whatever it is. But you start making time for them. You start prioritizing. You start slotting them into the day. Might be that you're waking up a little earlier to get this alone time in. It might be that you're actually making some space in your calendar that you're giving your calendar some breathing room, that you're seeing how busy your calendar is. So then you're, removing some of that busyness. You're making space. You're simplifying. You're refining the life. And then there's more and more of this being that you're experiencing. So ultimately, this leads to discovering that you are being, that you are being. And what can happen here at this stage of the journey is that you feel that it's exclusively being, that I am being and that there's no more doing. And it might feel like you go into full like monk mode and I just want to sit down and meditate and this is all that matters and everything else is superficial and doesn't really exist. And this is kind of sitting on the sidelines of life. It's like it's the total opposite. Just like you only knew doing, then you are progressing, and then there's some big, experience or explosion or something like that. It's really this polar opposite of what you were experiencing. But now you think that it's this. Okay, it's not doing, but it's now this being. And it feels like now you've lost the taste for everything and you don't want to do anything. It's just it's like the pendulum. It's like it was only on this side and then it made its way to this side and it will come back. It will come back. It's really about the balance because it's not exclusive. It's not this and it's not that. It's this and that. That actually, they're both one. That this doing is just one side and the being is the other side. But they're actually the same, that the doing is the expression of the being. That the being doesn't exclude the doing. The being is inclusive. It includes the doing. So a lot of people kind of hang out in this stage. And it makes sense because sometimes if you're heavy on the doing, that it's like you need this recovery time. It's like if I came from like a business world and there's a lot of like, workaholic, and I was definitely into that, this entrepreneurship and, grind, burning the candles at both ends. If you come from that, of course, you're going to need this time to just kind of recharge. And it might feel like you're kind of, in monk mode, or you're like a sloth and you're unmotivated by anything and you're super content. But then it's also kind of like you feel very connected with yourself, but almost like disconnected from everything else kind of going on. And it feels like you're now experiencing another form of isolation, that you felt isolated on this end and you feel now isolated on this end. It feels like you can't relate with anyone. And there's like this other kind of judgment and exclusion and discrimination happening. And it's because you're saying, well, it's not that. All of that doing, the world of doing, I'm nice and safe here in my being and I'm not touching that ever again. So now you've created this new separation only from the other side of being. So that might just need to kind of play out. And typically if it's playing out, it's most likely that there needs that period of time for maybe this understanding, this realization to, like mature, to deepen, to marinate. And sometimes what you find in life is when you only knew like the one side, if all you knew was like goals and work and to-do list and like taking life so seriously, it's like you didn't know how to just chill, watch some TikTok videos, mess around watching pointless movies on Netflix, it's like because that's what you were actually excluding the whole time. You were taking life so seriously, so you didn't know this kind of entertainment side. You didn't know you're super, super motivated and always moving towards goals. You didn't know what it was like to be unmotivated. So now you're experiencing the opposite. Like I said, it's like this polar opposite. It's like this pendulum that swings. You only experience this, and then life's kind of like, just chill. Now you experience this. Because obviously, look around. You also see unmotivated people. You see motivated people and you see unmotivated people. There's just two different experiences. And maybe you're just experiencing the one and you never experience the other. So then it gives you the opportunity. Here, life's not that serious. Go waste a few hours watching TikTok videos or something like that. Just watch some pointless stuff that you were always excluding and saying, I'm not one to waste my time on entertainment. But now there's kind of an enjoyment for that. So that's just a stage. And then what kind of happens is that doing and that being, you're experiencing both simultaneously. And that there's a balance that's achieved, but not achieved by you. It just happens. There's a harmony, the doing and the being, that then it's like it finds that balance point where there's this re-entry into the world, picking up perhaps projects that you put aside or quit, or maybe you pick up new projects. Maybe you re-enter into the roles that you were in before. Maybe you pick up some new roles. Maybe life completely changes, or maybe it stays the same. But you kind of come back into this doing mode. But now this doing mode is one side of the coin and the being mode is the other side of the coin. And you're experiencing now both simultaneously. So you're experiencing the effort and the rest at the exact same time. You're experiencing the doing that seems like a lot of activity, but at the same time, you're not doing anything. And paradoxically, all of this activity and movement and effort and action is then balanced by the effortless and the rest and the relaxation simultaneously. So then there's this harmony that's felt, that whatever was needed to be done, all these projects or roles or family life or work life, they're done, but they're done from now this level of being, that they're done with ease. The doing is so easy because you're now in touch with this dimension that you didn't know before, the dimension of being. So you're essentially always at rest. There's the appearance that there's the person that's doing all of the family life and work life and tending to the garden and maybe some home renovations or whatever it is. But that is just the appearance. But there's now this deeper dimension that you know yourself as, that's totally at rest, totally at peace, that's not doing any actions, that's simply just effortless, and that you're resting as that being, but you're expressing as the doing. And then this is the balance. This is the balance. This is the harmony. And ironically, all of the expression that the person was involved in, that this person is the expression of presence, that now there's actually just full expression. There's nothing that's suppressing it. It feels very limitless. There's no person that's limiting it with fear or what are they thinking? What are they going to think? I shouldn't do this, second guessing. It's just like a fire hose just pouring out. And at the same time, it's so natural, it's so effortless, it's so easy. There's no second guessing, there's no fear. And there's a pure joy. It's an outpouring of joy that whatever the activities are, there's a joy doing those activities. There's a love for those activities. There's peace while doing those activities. There's a freedom to be involved in those activities. The experience is that there's just the love for what's happening, regardless of the situation or the circumstances. That there's just, you're doing it for the pure enjoyment of it. That you're noticing that action isn't going to make you happy. That this dimension that you now know, that what you are is that happiness, and that happiness is actually shared through the person that's an expression of that happiness. So whatever the activities are, or creative projects, or family life, or work life, it's actually seen as an expression of self. It's seen as an outlet. And then this is the balance, because it's seen that there's actually more efficiency, more effectiveness, more output than ever before. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like you're some like workaholic. It doesn't feel like you're, making a to-do list. It's actually spontaneous. There's no feeling that you're trying to arrive somewhere. There's no feeling like you're trying to get somewhere. There's no feeling like you're trying to achieve something. There's no feeling that you're trying to create an outcome. All of those things are based on the future, and you're not even concerned with the future. You've seen through that there is no future. There's just now. And that's because you're grounded in being. That you're connected to the here now. You're connected to presence. And then what's enjoyed is the quality of the activity. The quality is so high. The activity is so fulfilling. There's a depth to everything. There's a breadth to everything. That whatever's being done, same activities, changing diapers, cooking meals, going to work, cutting the grass, washing the car. But now you're experiencing that there's a richness to it. And that's because that true wealth is actually the being that then now is permeating everything. So everything has this richness to it because everything is an expression of being. Everything is seen as a movement, a doing that's actually the expression of the one being. So now you're feeling this richness. You're feeling that everything is so satisfying, so content with everything, that you're so content with just a walk. The walk is so satisfying. Whereas before it always seemed like this is like a pain in the ass to get the mail. Now you're not looking forward to getting the mail. You're not putting on a pedestal as this next experience, but when there is getting the mail, there's just getting the mail. There's not getting the mail because I'm rushing home to then make dinner. Everything is experienced one at a time. And because everything is experienced one at a time, nothing else exists other than that activity. The attention is undivided, experiencing that activity. And you're one with that activity. There's no experiencer and experience, there's just experiencing. And all you're experiencing is yourself, actually. All you're experiencing is yourself. And this is where the doing and the being have balanced. It feels like it's very married or unified. And it's something that you aren't doing. You're not trying to balance it. How people talk about like, oh, work-life balance, and they're actually trying to balance a schedule and they're balancing this. It's just naturally happening on this path, this kind of progression. The things that are like not meant to be, they just drop. The things that were just too busy, where life was just too chaotic, disharmonious, they just drop. Things that are being let go of, things that fall away, it turns out to be, I want to say like in your best interest, but yeah, let's just use that saying, in your best interest, in the sense that it's because of that life is now simple. It's always this movement from what's complicated to what's simple, what's complex to what's simple. And then there's this beauty that's experienced. That which is simple is beautiful. There's beauty in the simplicity of life. So it doesn't feel like you're managing a bunch of things. It doesn't feel like life is so heavy and a burden that you're running around with your head chopped off. You're juggling 10 different balls at the same time. It doesn't feel like that. It very much feels like this calmness, and that you're taking your time. There's no rush. And that things just kind of appear to be experienced fully. And then another thing appears. And then another thing appears. You're no longer moving through life. The experience is being delivered to your door. It's coming to you. You're still, the experience is just, here you go, here you go, here you go. And you're only experiencing it one at a time. You don't even know, there's no thinking about the next one. You don't even know that there's a next one. And once that experience is experienced fully, it dissolves, it's gone. There's no trace of it, no remnants of it. And then it's replaced by something else immediately. And this is the experience of life. Whereas before it was seen as a bunch of different experiences, which were always projections, memories on this side and future, imagination on this side, past and then future. And it felt like you were jumping from experience to experience in a progressive manner. It felt like you were on this timeline. Whereas that is linear, and then now this is non-linear, and it's just showing up, showing up, showing up. And these experiences that are appearing are inevitable. Inevitable. You can't get out of them. What's the point of resisting them? You don't want to argue with them, right? So you treat it as if every experience like you chose it. You're saying yes, yes, yes. You're not shaking your head, why did you give me this one, God? You're not doing any of that stuff. You're not in disagreement. You're in full alignment with this present moment. Alignment is always about agreement. You're in full agreement with this present moment. Like I said, it's like as if you chose it. Of course I'm going to agree with this. I chose it. It's inevitable. It has to be like this. There's no other, it's one at a time. There's no other option. You can't ask for anything else. There's no other options. It's one option at a time. As soon as it disappears, there's another one that replaces it. You can't go back to the previous. It's gone. You don't see it. You're not seeing a past. You're not seeing a future. So while there's that experience, then there's full doing. while there's full being. That there's this balance. The being is the fact that you're not moving, that you're at rest, the experience shows up. The doing is the appearance of there's this person that's doing all these things, and it's like you're putting your heart into every action. There's an appreciation for it. You're not half-assing things. We tend to half-ass the actions because we're saying, I don't really want this. I want something else. So 50% of your energy is into the action at hand, and then 50% of your energy is wishing for something else. 50% of your energy is trying to get somewhere else because it's saying, I don't really want this. It's not this. Whereas this changes because you're saying it's only this and it can only be this. Therefore, you're putting your whole heart into it. So you get 100% doing and you're 100% being. And this is the unity of it. This is the balance of it. So let's leave it at that. Hopefully this helps. I'll see you in the next one.